Okay, hey everybody, this is Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff, and I just got back from the T-Mobile store purchasing myself a Galaxy Note 5. This is the 32GB model, so this cost me $700 off contract or with any installment plans, and plus there was $66 tax, so $766. If you want the 64GB variation, that is going to cost you $100 extra, so around $800, sometimes a little bit over depending on the carrier. Then there's tax. Now, unfortunately, I'm not seeing any 128GB model on the horizon anytime soon. It looks like Samsung just decided to forego the 128GB model, but we shall see. So everybody knows by now that this does not have an SD card slot like the Galaxy Note was always known for, and it also doesn't have a removable battery. It's also got a bit of a smaller battery, so this just begs the question, does this still feel like a power user type phone like the Galaxy Note 4, or is it starting to really feel like a larger Galaxy S6? So that is the biggest question that I have. I'm going to take some time to play with it, and then I can answer that question towards the full review and in the full review. We're just seeing so many great phones come out these days. This is a mid-tier type phone, the Moto G. And it's just a lot cheaper. It's got a lot of functionality. It's water resistant. It even has an SD card slot in here. So it just begs the question again, is it worth going for one of these flagship devices, or is this just good enough? So I'm going to open this up, see what it is that I really got for my money over the next few days, make kind of like a first impressions, then get on to the full review. So let's go ahead and open her on up. This is the black model, by the way. Just push stuff. Move, move! We're going to take the sleeve off. We got my knife here. So this is indeed brand new. I did not let them open it at the store, although they do try. If you don't tell them not to, sometimes they will open it up and put the SIM in there for you. So there we are. Let's go ahead and pull off that lid. This is all my serial number and IMEI information. Here we have this Galaxy Note 5. Let's go ahead and set that aside. Here is an extra T-Mobile SIM that I don't need. We've got our documentation and things. Warranty information. They are nice enough to give you a SIM ejection tool, so that's great. So we've got our earbuds looking very, very Apple-like. They even give you the little case and all. Oh, Samsung, you're really trying to win over some iPhone fans, aren't you? We've got our little USB cable, and we've got our adaptive fast charging. And then, should your stylus get dull, you're given these extra stylus pointers and a little grippy thingy so that you can get the pen tip out. I've never used these, but that's a nice touch. Now that my desk is a big mess. Move, move. Well, it's kind of like a organized looking type of a chaos. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this out of its sleeve. And I did see this at the Samsung event in New York. And it does feel, just as I remember it, that curved back really does help. I've got small hands. I'm sure you guys are sick of hearing that, but it felt that the Note 4 was a bit boxy, and that feeling of boxiness really has faded away with this Galaxy Note 5, so that is a nice touch. I'm just hoping that I got a good display, one that's not two-toned. I just always manage to get a display that's cooler at the top or warmer at the bottom or vice versa, and it becomes really distracting when you're looking at whites on web pages. So here's to hoping this is a nice model. I don't like stickers. I don't like them at all. I like how this is unbranded from T-Mobile. You can see this is an AT&T Galaxy S6. I wouldn't be surprised if the AT&T Galaxy Note 5 had insignia on it. So this is unbranded. I want to mention that I'm going to be having another version of this phone. It's going to be the unlocked model. That is going to be given to me from Samsung. That should be coming on Monday, so I'm going to be happy to compare the models back and forth to see if there's any notable differences. Probably not. And I will also have an S6 Edge Plus in hand, so let's go ahead and set this up. At first glance, this looks good. I don't see any two-tonedness. Yes! For once! Okay, so now I've been messing around with it for a few hours after I've gotten it nice and set up. Of course, one of the very first things I do to set up a Samsung phone is go underneath the display, and I like to make sure that my screen timeout is somewhere with 2 to 5 minutes. But the big thing here is the screen mode. I always like to make sure I have the screen mode on either AMOLED Photo or Basic. So look at this here, at the whites between AMOLED Photo and Basic. It's the same white, the same color temperature, but when you go to the AMOLED Cinema, you see that it ends up looking bluish. So I end up really liking the white point between the AMOLED Photo and Basic. The difference here is that this is the most natural looking mode. The AMOLED Photo ends up being wide gamut, but still having that nice, warmer white point. And then you go to AMOLED Cinema and you can see that it gets bluish on purpose, like a cinema grading. And then the colors really go to hell because they're just oversaturated and really meant to look to pop. So I like AMOLED Photo best. It's got that warm white point, but still has some punchy colors. We've also got our pen here that's ever so nice and clicky. I'm a big fan of the S Pen when there are features that I actually will use. One of the coolest things Samsung has done with this phone is implement a feature that allows you to take the pen out. You can see that the display turns on a bit. We've only got a couple of icons showing here, so the display is essentially off, the pixels are off. So you can write yourself a note and all that good stuff, and then you can put the pen back in, and it will save it for you automatically. So that I find incredibly useful, and I'm actually sure I would use that all the time. I'm hoping that we get that feature update on something like the Note 4, but somehow I don't really think that we will. Samsung needs something to distinguish its new phone, right? Now, although we are stuck with just 32 gigabytes of internal storage or 64 gigabytes of internal storage, you still have the option for USB Otg. So here I have this little dongle here. It's a USB dongle to micro USB dongle, and it's also got 16 gigabytes of storage. So if I plug it into the bottom, I can transfer files. Or I can basically just treat it like an SD card, although no one wants to walk around with something like this sticking out. I'm afraid I'm going to smack it or it's going to break or something. But this is an option. So I can drag a file right onto it, go to my computer, plug it in, and share it back and forth. So it really does serve as an SD card. So the biggest defining feature besides the obvious, the larger display and the S Pen, is that this has 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now with the Galaxy S6, I always had issues with apps shutting down. There are some issues with RAM management. So we can point that out as a lollipop problem for memory leak, or we can point that out also as a Samsung problem. But I am happy to say that the 4 gigabytes of RAM has proved to be very helpful on the Galaxy Note 4. We don't have the same aggressive apps closing down like we do on the Galaxy S6. I can show you what I mean. This was indeed a question that I got quite often, so I'm happy to say that, yeah, this works really well now with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Sad, very sad. So now we're going to load up a couple of applications. Everything is treated the same way here. Let's start with Riptide GP2. So that's going to load. And we're going to go out of that. And we're going to open up a couple of web browsers. So let's go ahead and open up the Chrome browser first. So Chrome. And we have it searching for Galaxy Note 5. Let's keep that open. Now let's go ahead and open up the internet browser. And we have that also searching for Galaxy Note 5. So now we're going to cycle between them. So this is the standard internet browser. Let's go back to Chrome. You can see that that's still open. Let's go back to Riptide GP2. And immediately you can already see that it's having to restart on the Galaxy S6. So it's pretty bad. So let's go ahead and try Chrome again. That's still open. And internet. And this is already having to reload while this is already open. So it's pretty extreme. It's to a point with the Galaxy S6 that if I am calling an Uber car, if I go out of the Uber application, it shuts down the Uber application. And that gets really bad because then I don't know when my Uber driver is getting there, and it just ends up being a mess. So pretty much every time you exit out of an application and do something like go into the web browser, it's just kicking you right out of the application. And there's been no such trouble at all with the Galaxy Note 5. The Note 5 has still been open through all of this. And still reloading. It's a pity about the Galaxy S6 with the way that it's handling RAM, but if you go on xdadevelopers.com, I have seen a fix, quote unquote, that does, of course, require rooting. And I've seen people be able to get this to behave properly. So all is not lost. But I think that this whole performance ordeal is just silly. Now this little monster has been making my job very difficult. Come here, Emmy. She's been interrupting me and jumping on my head. See if she likes this new phone. You gonna see if you like this? We're gonna play a new game? Yeah, how about the one with the spider? The spider, get that spider. Yeah, the spider. Get it, the spiders. Yeah, it looks like Emmy seems to like this phone. Okay, no. So thank you everybody for watching. This has been Erica, the technology nerd who likes to film stuff. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to take some special time playing with this phone. I want to make either a first impressions or maybe I'll just go right on to the review. We'll see how that goes. I want to discover if this is really worth it as an upgrade over the S6, but just looking at the RAM itself, 4 gigabytes of RAM seems to be serving it well. It seems to be doing really well for multitasking. So far it's pretty decent. Hey, no, go away, video crasher.